Good evening, late night crafters, and thanks for joining me tonight for Be My Valentine. Be sure to check out the video description for links to our wonderful host and all the incredible projects. Tonight I'm going to be showing you how I like to use paper mache to create one-of-a-kind wall decor. And this one is perfect for Valentine's Day because it's all about a heart. Now, this particular product that I'm using, I purchased on Amazon. It's like a paper pulp powder, and you're going to add water to it to create the paper mache paste. So I use a mix that is 2 parts of the powder to 1 part water, more or less. I start out with the paper mache and then I add the water a little bit at a time and keep mixing it and kneading it until it reaches the desired consistency. It's a little bit like baking bread if you've done that. The same kind of feeling of kneading it. You're going to want it to be a little bit wetter than most bread doughs, but it's kind of similar. If you make it too wet, you can always just add more of the powder and keep working with it until you get the desired consistency. So you'll see I've got it to where it's all sticking together, but it's not too watery. Once it's reached the desired consistency, I'm going to press it into a silicone mold. This is a mold that I purchased on Amazon, and again, all of the links will be in the video description if you want to try this out for yourself at home. Otherwise, I'm sure you have all kinds of silicone molds from different projects, so you can use those to make anything you like with paper mache. I really like working with this paper mache product. It's fun to just use in different molds and create different things because they're very lightweight. So anyway, as you can see here, I am pressing it into the silicone mold. I'm not going to fill the whole mold because I want this to be like light and hollow. So I'm going to press it in really well because I want to pick up all the detail on this mold. And then I'm going to keep working it up the sides and around the mold until it's full, and then leave that to dry overnight. When I come back to my project and it's dry, mostly dry, I'm going to carefully loosen it, pop it out, and then leave it to dry a little bit longer because that inside surface is usually still just a little bit wet because it takes some time for it to dry completely. So I want that front part to dry before I start painting it. I am just going to be using regular old craft paints at first. I'm starting out with a cardinal red. I'm going to paint a nice light layer over my paper mache. And this is such a pretty vibrant color. It's going to make a really nice base for what's coming up next. So just cover up the entire paper mache with your desired base color. Like I said, it's Valentine's Day, so we're going with a pretty heart red. Fill in, since this has some texture, you're going to want to be careful, get into all the little grooves there. Let it dry. And once it's dry, I'm coming back with a blue paint. I like to use this metallic color. I'm going to grab just a teeny bit of it and then offload quite a bit of it because I'm going to dry brush my project now. I'm dry brushing over it so I can pick up all the cool texture from the paper mache along with the details that were in my silicone mold. So this has got some veins, different arteries, things popping out. This will help give it some dimension so it doesn't look like just a flat, regular Valentine heart. Since the color is light, I'm going to dry brush it 2 or 3 times after each layer dries so I can really highlight that texture that's in there. I'm also going to use some of that blue paint to fill in some of the recessed areas to create shadows. So again, this helps kind of highlight the depth and the texture and just makes it not look so flat. I also like to go into the little grooves there to show where the lines are, and then I'll go around all the edges and just paint it with that blue color again to create a shadow, and it'll help make this heart pop out from the background because the next step is going to be even more red paint. And so we need something to help define the edges and the boundaries of our focal point for this Valentine decor piece. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to set it aside to dry and get started on the next piece, which is the frame. This is a vintage frame that I purchased at an estate sale. And what I like about these is that they're usually really easy to take apart. You can just put a little pressure on the front, and then that kind of pops loose that old glue, so you can remove the backing, which is just like a kind of pressed wood. And I can now remove the print that was inside there and use that backing to trace onto my background paper that's going to be the backing for my heart. I love to use old papers, especially old sheet music, old maps, things like that. So this is from an old music book, and I know people have big feelings about damaging books. I agree. I feel the same way. I make a point to find books that are being thrown out at libraries and estate sales. This particular music book was very water damaged, so I was able to save the pages that weren't damaged and use those for crafting. So this way, instead of it ending up in a landfill, I was able to salvage what I could and use it in my crafting. And the sheet music is just beautiful. It's so full of notes that it makes the perfect background for a lot of my projects. So I am tracing the background of that frame onto it and cutting it out. So now I have the perfect sized oval to cover up that back wood piece with. I'm just going to use a little bit of double-sided tape to attach that beautiful music paper. And see how the paper has that lovely vintage patina to it. It's fabulous. It's perfect for what I'm trying to accomplish here. And glue that on there. And then most of the time, all you have to do is press this backing back into the vintage frame and it will stay in place. Sometimes you'll need to add a little glue, but most of the time it fits in there perfectly, and then I don't have to mess with any more glue and it stays in place. It's so pretty already, but we're going to add a little bit more to this. I am using gallery glass. It is a transparent paint that the red makes a great fake blood finish. I use this quite a bit in my Halloween and creepy decorating. So I'm going to add some to the glass of this frame and then tap it so that it slides around. Because if I use too much, it won't be transparent anymore. So I want a light enough application. I know it looks completely opaque right now, but when it dries, it will be transparent. It's similar to Mod Podge that's been tinted with paint. All right, so now I'm using a different glass finish paint, also from Plaid Crafts. I'm using a red and a blue. These are both transparent paints. Again, I will have links to all of these products in the video description. Now, normally when I do this, I would have let that backing dry first, but since I was excited and eager to keep going with this video, I went ahead and completely lost my mind. I put way too much of this paint on top. I just forgot what I was doing. What I should have done was just put a tiny amount and then brushed it like, okay, Marina, stop. That's just too much. It ended up working out in the end. It was a happy accident, but I just wanted a light glaze on it. So I'm trying to fix my mistake. I'm painting it to cover it up. I've just got way too much on there, so it's seeping into my background. Now, again, this turned out to be a happy accident. I puddled it in there, but what happened when this dried is that the combination of the two different paint products kind of crackled, which ended up being cool. It looked like coagulated blood, but if you don't want that effect, then don't do what I did here. So I'm blending it in there so it'll dry. Now, while it's wet, I'm doing this on purpose. I always add the blue right in while the red is still wet. I'm just using a tiny bit. I know it looks really vibrant right now, but it is a transparent paint color. So when it dries, it's going to be much, much lighter. And by putting it in now, I can use a paintbrush to kind of nudge it in and blend it with the red. So just like the way I was highlighting it before with the blue paint, I'm doing this because I don't want this to look like just a big flat red blob. I want some dimension to it. So this is going to help create those shadows and highlight some of the texture. So taking a brush, blend that into the creases a little bit, and then brush a little bit over to help highlight the texture, and then leave this to dry overnight and wake up excitedly in the morning to see what it looks like. And are you ready for the big reveal? Here's what it looks like when it's completely dried in all of its bloody glory. And here is a heart. I'm giving you my heart for Valentine's Day. Aw, isn't that sweet? I actually always sell every single one of these when I go to spooky markets. I know this isn't everyone's cup of tea, but you could use these techniques to make a heart in a more traditional Valentine style. Thanks for watching, and happy Valentine's Day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the other videos in the video box description. Ciao, ciao.